If you guys enjoy what I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free and easy to do. Before we get started with today's video, I have an announcement to make. After years of telling other people's stories, I finally released one of my own. My novel Eternal Reign is available now in both ebook and paperback format for those of you who are like me and prefer to collect physical media. You can grab a copy right now on Amazon through the link in the description of this video. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Every year in Eorzea, the Starlight Festival is celebrated in Gridania, and Garanji is happy to get you to help out once again. She's having a bit of a beast problem. It's nothing dangerous, but with you being an adventurer, you've dealt with more exotic creatures than she has, so you'll be better able to deal with this than she could. While she was preparing for the festival, a small yeti that she started calling Rudy showed up, and now it won't leave. It hasn't done anything bad, and she started to like it a bit. She even made it a reindeer costume so it won't look out of place. The thing is, the yeti keeps trying to tell her something, but she can't figure out what it's trying to say, and you don't have much better luck. Because the plot says so, a talking squirrel shows up to help out. Granted, an auspice isn't something you haven't seen before. There are plenty of the talking animals in the Far East, and we will talk about those when I cover the Four Lords story in the not too distant future, so stay tuned for that. This auspice's name is Rasai, and he wanders around to wherever he smells delicious desserts. He was meeting an old friend in Eorzea, but he took a detour because the festival seemed interesting. He decided to see what all the fuss was about when he overheard your conversation and figured that he might be able to help. Since he can understand the Yeti, he may very well be useful. Rudy wants a favor from you. Compared to the other Yeti, he's really tiny, and the others make fun of him because the snowballs he makes are so small. You've seen how big and deadly the snowballs can be when you fought some of them, but according to Rudy, not all Yeti are violent like the ones in Kurthus. His kind live deep in the mountains, and instead of fighting to determine who's best, they do it by seeing who can build the biggest snowballs. Rudy was practicing in secret so he could get better, but he fell off of a cliff and got lost. He wandered around the forest for days until a white-haired man rescued him. That was Saint Nemia, and after he saved Rudy, he left for the Starlight celebration before Rudy could thank him, so now he wants to find the saint again. The problem is, no one knows where he is. He pops up everywhere randomly to give people gifts. Now that's not what the little Yeti wanted to hear, but if he wants to repay the saint for his help, he can always help out with the festival. Garanji is more than happy to make him into one of the little helpers, and Rasai wants to help too, and because it wouldn't be Final Fantasy XIV if someone didn't volunteer you to help, the auspice ropes you into helping out too. Now y'all just need to figure out a way that Rudy can be useful. It's a winter festival, and while the Yeti can't sing, he can make snowballs, so something snowball related would be perfect. That makes Rasai think of a snowball looking snack that he ate in Hulda that was extremely delicious, so with that as a template, Rudy can make some snowball treats. And the best person to help with that is Mother Mione. Risai's staying at her inn, and apparently her cooking is top notch. She's in the middle of making some Starlight gift boxes for the kids at Bent Branch Meadows, and adding some snowball themed snacks to it would be perfect. She can even come up with a recipe, which if you've ever done any baking, you know that coming up with a recipe from scratch is a real skill. All she needs is for you to grab a few ingredients. Rudy wants to take the lead and talk to the people to prove how useful he is, and since the Warrior of Light isn't much for words, it's not a bad idea. The people find it odd that a tiny Yeti is dressed as a reindeer and carrying a grocery list, but there are stranger things out there. So all in all, even with a few people being uncomfortable with the whole thing, Rudy does a good job of getting what you need. So Mione has everything she needs to whip up some treats called schneeballs that look extremely delicious. I have to see if they're in the Final Fantasy cookbook that I have, because I will definitely make those next. Rudy is proving himself to be useful, so Risai tells him that he shouldn't feel bad that he's different, and he shouldn't let his siblings push him around. It's not like Risai is like other squirrels, but he's proud of the things that makes him different. They're nothing to be ashamed of. That advice seems to make Rudy feel better, and he's even happier when Mione asks him if he wants to help deliver the stuff to the children. Some of the children are a bit uncomfortable having a Yeti hand out presents, but since there's an adventurer standing around and not murdering the thing, it must not be bad. Not to mention the fact that the snowball treats turn out to be absolutely delicious. Things are going great until a guard shouts about Yetis in the city. Of course, you run to check it out and find two full-size Yeti at the gate, but they aren't hostile. They're Rudy's brothers, and they came to bring him home. And they seem a little irritated about the fact that he was captured so easily. But he wasn't captured at all, so he tells them everything he's done with the treats and for the children. That doesn't do much to convince them, but once he gives his brother some of the treats, they apologize for how badly they treated him and promise to let him join in all of their Yeti games in the future. All the while, Saint Nemia watches from above with a smile on his face. Somehow, the Saint left a letter with another helper for Rudy, praising him for his part in the festival. Having completed his mission, it's time for Rudy to head back home. He made new friends in the city, and he promises that he'll always remember you all. After he leaves, it's time to tell Amgaranji that Rudy's gone. She wishes she could have petted the little guy one last time, but if he's happy now, then she's happy. Because that's what the Starlight Celebration is truly all about. Out in Gridania, the Warrior of Light is stopped by an investigator from the Adventurers Guild and asked to help on a case the guy's working on. He's investigating the Continental Circus. They're known all around Eorzea as a traveling group of entertainers who show up during All Saints' Wake to celebrate and put on a show for the people. But they're actually void sent in disguise. They haven't done anything serious, which is why they've been allowed to keep doing what they've been doing while the adventurer was fine with just watching them. But for some reason he hasn't seen them, even though the festivities have already started. They may be late because we're celebrating Halloween in January, but maybe not. In their place, a weird guy called the Scarlet Snout has showed up. That's a little odd that the circus vanished and this guy appears, which is why the adventurer is looking into him. And he wouldn't mind a little bit of help from you. Since it was obvious you wouldn't say no, you head around asking people about this Scarlet Snout fellow. Turns out the guy's been going around and inviting people to a holiday feast at his house, but it's only for select people, so no one's supposed to tell anyone about it. But of course, people can't follow instructions or keep secrets, so they all tell you about this little private get-together, which gives you some interesting information to report. Hearing that the guy is trying to gather people at his house makes the investigator even more suspicious. While you were asking around, the investigator discovered that most of the time Scarlet Snout has been seen by the river. He thinks it'll be pretty easy to spot the guy, but since he's been asking around after him for a while, he figures he'll scare him off, so he wants you to do it. He'll be watching you from a distance just in case anything happens, so you agree and head off to the river to see if you can spot the Scarlet Snout. The guy finds you, and you instantly see why he's called Scarlet Snout. He's a clown, which automatically makes him creepy despite the fact that he dresses like that to make people laugh. I don't care what anyone says, clowns have always been creepy. Pennywise fed off of fear, and you know what he turned into? A clown. And his face wasn't as scary as this guy's. His name is Papa Gruff, which doesn't sound any friendlier than his face looks. And just like everyone said he has, Papa Gruff invites you to a feast at his house, and he asks you not to tell anyone about it with the same look in his eye that a mob boss has before he puts a horse head in your bed. When he leaves, you immediately tell the investigator everything he said, but even though the guy is creepy, neither of you really know what he's planning, so you have to play along for a little while. Papa Gruff told you to meet him out in Bent Branch Meadows when you're ready to go, so you head out there to spy on him while your adventurer friend goes to make his report. Then the two of you can meet up to plan what you're gonna do next. You catch sight of Gruff standing under the bridge and rehearsing what he's planning on saying to his guests when his wife and son, who are properly named Mama Gruff and Little Gruff, show up. The kid is super excited to meet all of the people who are supposed to be coming to their house, and apparently Papa Gruff's invited a lot of people. People who are apparently walking to their own doom. His words, not mine. The conversation proves that they plan on killing everyone who comes to the feast and using the fear from their souls to summon their friends for the true feast, called the Night of Devilry. Neither Mama Gruff nor Little Gruff has ever seen it before, but apparently the stories say it's fun. Just not for you. Now that you know the plan, you head back to tell your partner. Fortunately, after hearing his report, the guild sent an expert on all things supernatural to help you out. Hopefully he can figure out how to deal with Papa Gruff's plan. The specialist's name is Mark, and the first thing he needs is for you to get him up to speed on what's happened so far. After your recap, he lets you know that he's heard of the Night of Devilry. During All Saints' Wake, the saints are invited to a banquet in the heavens every night. During that time, the world below is left unprotected, and monsters summoned by the ogre Pumpkinhead get to terrorize the defenseless people. The most dangerous of these monsters is the Doomsday Clown, also known as Papa Gruff. The stories say that anyone who enters his domain is destined to never return. The story creeps out your partner, which motivates him to want to save all of Gruff's victims, but going into his lair without protection means death, so you'll need something to overcome his powers. Mark has just the thing. He's made 2 items based off of artifacts he read about in some ancient books, the Fiendish Lantern and a phial of warding holy water. The lantern emits a light that void scent can't stand, and the holy water protects the holder's soul from being stolen and lets you rescue the souls of others and send them back to their bodies. At least in theory. He hasn't had a chance to test them yet, but if they don't work, you'll simply have your soul stolen and eaten by a clown. But at least he'll give you a pumpkin cookie first. Since there's nothing left to do but try out the items and hope for the best, Mark hands you a link pearl so he can offer you as much help as he can once you're in the clown's domain, and it's off you go. Gruff's servant guides you and the other guests into his domain, and where you would normally be able to just fight your way through pretty easily, the clown's power saps all of your strength. Lucky for you, Mark's weapons stop you from losing your soul and allow you to take down the void scent, so you make your way through the place, saving people and taking down void scent like real Ghostbusters, all the while surviving the very life-threatening games of Little Gruff and the attempts to fatten you up and feed you the void scent by Mama Gruff. Having freed so many souls, Papa Gruff gets upset and summons a lot of void scent to kill you and harvest the souls that he needs to complete the ritual. But you free so many more of them that he's forced to teleport away in a burst of confetti. Back in Gridania, you tell Mark and your partner of your success. You saved the souls of those who had been captured, and your fellow adventurer warned the people not to attend any feasts for their own good. Not surprisingly, some of them didn't listen, so there's still a chance Papa Gruff will get to complete his ritual, because the clown hasn't given up, especially since his wife's not happy that an adventurer with some weird magic trinkets ruined their plans. Since people aren't likely to talk to him about a feast anymore, Papa Gruff found someone to help them with their mission, someone that a mysterious pumpkin-headed fellow is curious about. Clearly, Papa Gruff will be causing more trouble in the future. We just have to wait and see what it is. The spooky time of the year is back, so as usual, the Warrior of Light heads to Gridania to see what events they have set up this time. While she's there, she runs into the investigator from the Adventurers Guild, who she worked with in the incident with Papa Gruff, the evil void scent clown, and he wants her help again. The traveling troupe called the Continental Circus is definitely going to come to set up their shop in town, like they do every year, and since all of their members are void scent, what they do is never actually good. But the investigator has a plan to mess up their schemes this year. He wants to hold his own event to take the attention away from the circus so they won't have enough customers to cause problems. Since All Saints' Wake has one of the most important parts of the real world's Halloween event, putting on costumes and scaring people, the investigator thinks a costume party will do the trick. To make things a bit more interesting, he had the Alchemist Guild make a potion that can actually transform people into monsters for a little while. People will definitely get into it once the Warrior of Light transforms and scares them a little bit. Not many people would really pass up the opportunity to make a few people wet themselves, and the Warrior of Light is no exception. Seeing the potion in action gets a lot of people on board, so the Warrior of Light goes to tell the investigator that his idea was a success. He's extremely happy to hear that so many people are eager to join in his game, and it makes him wonder why he hadn't thought of turning into a human last time he wanted to consume souls. The Warrior of Light is a little slow and doesn't realize what's going on, so the inspector turns into a void scent to help her understand that she'd been tricked, and not just by anyone. This void scent is Papa Gruff, the same clown who had tried to gather souls from Gridania at the last All Saints Wake, and once again his wife is there to help him out. His plan's a little bit simpler this time around, and it revolves around his transformation potions. The one that he had you drink wasn't nearly as potent as the one he made for the townspeople. Their transformations will be permanent. When they realize that they can't turn back, Papa Gruff will use their despair to summon his friends and begin the night of devilry. And he knows that it'll work, because the real investigator was already turned into the floating void scent that's been trying to get your attention. The people have already started to gather, so the Gruffs head off to put the rest of their plan into motion. And there really doesn't seem like there's any way for you to save them, but a very strangely dressed woman shows up and offers to help. She looks just as crazy as the clown, but she gives the investigator a potion that turns him back to normal, which makes her earn a little bit more trust, at least from him. The woman says that she has enough of the cure for everyone in town who fell under Papa Gruff's spell, and she gives them to the investigator to distribute while he leaves you to deal with the clown. The woman offers to help with that since the clown will be expecting you. She figures that the best way to beat him is with a taste of his own medicine, so she wants to transform you into someone who can get close to Gruff and convince him to eat one of the woman's special cookies that will make him turn back into his true form. The clown wouldn't have left the area because he definitely wants to see the fruits of his labor, so that narrows down the search area just a little bit. The mystery woman turns you into an exact replica of Papa Gruff's wife, which with a few well-worded phrases convinces him to eat the cookie. As soon as he eats it, he's turned back into an imp. When you reveal yourself, he still thinks this is only a minor setback, but the mystery woman walks up and tells the Void Scent that he's ruining All Saints' wake, which is a serious issue to her since she reveals herself to be the pumpkin-headed Great Gourd herself. She plans on showing him the error of his ways in a very, very painful way, but she promises that you can let the festival continue without worrying about the people, and as a reward for your help with saving her holiday, she lets you celebrate All Saints' wake at her house, something that she hardly ever does. Hello everyone, it's that time of year again, Heaven's Turn, where people set goals like losing weight or saving money that they break within the first 48 hours and then make excuses for why they need to postpone those goals for another 363 days until the year changes again, because everyone knows you can't make changes on any day other than the beginning of the year. Wait, I'm mixing up New Year's in the real world with Heaven's Turn. Those are two completely different things. Sort of. Heaven's Turn is a yearly celebration that marks the beginning of the new year on Hydaelyn, but each region celebrates it differently. In Eorzea, one of the 12 is chosen at the start of the year to watch over the realm for 12 moons, or months. For this year, that member of the 12 is Azima. The people of the Far East have one of the totem animals take that role, and this year that animal is the Tora, or the tiger, which is the center of the festival for this year. In Limsa Lominsa, the Warrior of Light is stopped by Tora Bugyo. He thinks you look like someone who can handle herself, which makes you perfect for what he needs. He came to Eorzea as a part of a group sent from Hingashi to take part in the Heaven's Turn celebration. He learned how the Eorzeans believe that the gods choose one of their own to bring in the good fortune of the new year. In the Far East, one of the 12 great beasts fills that role, and for this year is the tiger, which is why he's wearing a tiger headdress. Normally they celebrate the event with a bit of mochi pounding, but that doesn't really represent the mighty tiger in the way that shows his true power. Tora Bugyo has something in mind that an experienced adventurer would be perfect for, if you're up for it. Whether you accept or not is irrelevant as usual, because two of Bugyo's colleagues show up and immediately think you're perfect for the task that you don't even know what is. Granted, you don't even know who they are either. They are a clan of mages who have come to perform the ritual to calm the forces of evil. It sounds complicated, but it's just a performance of an old story about a ferocious tiger meant to please the gods. The mages will use their magic to give life to the image of the tiger, and you'll play the role of the fierce warrior who goes around and beats it up. It's not like fighting is something the Warrior of Light doesn't do for fun, so she heads to Lenosha where the mages summon an imitation of Byaku that tries as hard as the real one to kill you while a group of people cheer for the show. The show you put on makes the mages think back to Tenzin, the great warrior who the story that you just reenacted was based on. A small part of it anyway, which means you have done your part to make this year's Heaven's Turn celebration a success, which of course means they'll definitely get you to do it again next year. Every year in Eorzea, people celebrate Valentine's Day, and the season of romance is on us again. And because Lisette de Valentine knows you since this isn't the first time she's seen you, she lets you know that there's a bit of a problem. The Moogle Kupka Cup, the self-proclaimed master of all things love with a heart-shaped palm, is having some problems. Valentine's Day is supposed to be a happy time, and it is, unless you're one of the post-Moogles. Kupka Cup is super busy delivering letters and the work is driving him crazy, but you can help him. And since when has the Warrior of Light said no to anything? So Astrid runs off to get the Moogle. Kupka is happy to see you and he explains his problems to you. They didn't come from his job, but from a new worker that joined the post-Moogles. Every Valentine's is super hard on the male Moogles, so Kupka decided to ask for some help from the guild so he could have someone to take a little bit of the strain off of himself. But the guild sent him someone who is horrible at the job. Not only that, she knows absolutely nothing about love and may very well ruin Valentine's Day if she's allowed to just run around on her own. Unfortunately, he can't fire her right after asking for help from the guild, but he doesn't have the time to train her either. Because people have a habit of doing this, Lisette volunteers you and Astrid to travel around with the crazy Moogle to help her with some of her deliveries. And neither one of you say no, so Kupka brings Pukti Pico and a chocobo to you. She always forgets the thing's name, so she just calls it Bird. You can call it whatever you want because she's gonna forget the name in a few hours anyway. Kupka has given Pukti 3 deliveries to take care of, and he wants the 2 of you to go with her. And the first stop is at the Carpenters Guild. The person she's delivering to is out on an errand, so Pukti decides she'll just leave the package anywhere and hopefully the guy finds it because she has other stuff to do. So apparently she's training to work for Amazon because they don't care where they leave your packages. I kid you not, they not only set something I ordered on my neighbor's doorstep, but they took a picture of the door where you can clearly see the numbers for their address and then sent it to me, knowing that it wasn't the right place. Needless to say, that's not how the Post Moogles operate, so you and Astrid convinced the Moogle to look for the man so you can give him the gift his daughter sent for him directly. He's at the Botanist Guild, which is one of the few places a carpenter would need to go to get supplies, and he's super excited to get the chocolates his daughter sent. She's an apprentice at the Culinarians Guild, and she had told him that she'd be making the chocolates for this year's event, but he hadn't expected her to send him any. He was way more excited than Puckty thought he should be over something so simple, but it doesn't always take big things to make someone happy. Sometimes the little things like a smile or a cookie can make someone's day a lot better, and that joy is something that should be shared with others. That concept still seems a bit foreign to Puckty as she flies off to do her next delivery at the Whistling Miller. There's an old saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, then just shut up. Puckty's grandmother must have never told her that because the second person she delivers a package to was sent some pink seashells. She was excited about it, but Puckty immediately comments about how that gift is way worse than the chocolates the other guy got. Fortunately, the gift has meaning to the woman, so the words of a disrespectful Moogle don't bother her all that much. Her friend is an adventurer who she hasn't seen in a while, and what he always does is instead of telling her where he is, he sends her something from that place so she can figure out where he is. She was just wondering if something had happened to him, but the gift lets her know that he's alive and lets her play detective in her own small adventure so she can figure out the location before the next package comes. Once she explains it, Puckty starts to understand a bit, because if she were separated from her bird, she'd be happy to get anything to tell her that he was okay, and even if the gift wouldn't make sense to an outsider, it would be the best thing she could have gotten. She thinks about this while you all head to Apkalu Falls for the last delivery. The last package was from Uda. A young man had ordered some earrings for his wife, but the shipment had taken so long to get there that he was afraid they would be damaged when they arrived. But they're in perfect condition, so he's super excited and he compliments Puckty on her work, which makes her feel all tingly inside. Regardless of what anyone says, there's not a person alive that doesn't like to receive compliments. A few kind words can turn someone's entire day around. You could literally save someone's life just by being nice, and it doesn't cost you anything, just like hitting the like button and subscribing doesn't. Hint, hint, wink, wink. With the deliveries done, you all head back to Kupka and Lisette, and although it got off to a rocky start, the Warrior of Light and Astrid can safely say that Puckty didn't do a bad job, and she learned that love is a lot more complicated than she had thought. But because of the two of you, she feels a little less ignorant than she was before. Because of that, Kupka rewards her by giving her another job. Not sure how that qualifies as a reward, but okay. A woman named Alois wanted a package delivered fast, but a little while later she came back wanting to cancel the shipment. It was weird, but she ran off crying before he could find out what was wrong. He wants you to help find her. She's a very pretty Ellison lady, so he thinks she'll be easy to spot. But Gridania is full of Ellison, so I don't know how he thought that'd make her easy to find unless he was trying to say that all the other Ellison are pretty ugly. Now, I'm not even going to touch that one. Kupka did see which way the woman went, so you follow her path and track her down pretty easily. And after you start to talk to her, she heads off to see Kupka, which wasn't the point of all of this, but you have to just go with it. Alois had received an offer of marriage that she had wanted to accept, and she wanted the Moogles to make sure her reply would actually get delivered. But then she started to doubt whether she was making the right decision, not because she didn't love the man, but because he's Ishgardian nobility and she's a commoner who may not fit into that world, which is why she wanted to destroy her other letter and tell him that she couldn't go through with it. Even Puckty, who claims to not be an expert on these types of things, doesn't understand why Alois would give up a relationship with someone who she actually wants to be with, if the thought of not being with them makes her as scatterbrained as she is, especially since she made up a scenario in her own head where she was unfit and treated it like reality. False evidence appearing real has made a lot of people miss out on some really good things. Lisette is also Ishgardian nobility, and she can say with absolute certainty that none of the noble houses have the same rules or customs, so it would make sense for her to talk to her betrothed before coming up with her own theories. The man's been a part of his own family forever, which means he probably knows more about how they work than she does. She realizes that you all do have a point, and she decides to get your help writing the letter where she tells the man exactly what worries her. Ladies, men are not mind readers. If you want us to know something is wrong, tell us, because if you don't tell us the problem, it'll be your own fault if it doesn't get fixed. After the letter is sent, Alois freaks out and decides to go and spy on Ezamil to see how he reacts, and since you couldn't stop her, you and Astrid follow her. Ezomil reads the letter, but Puckty's extremely insightful words about how Alois feels about him does a better job of revealing her intentions than any letter ever could. It also helps that Ezomil saw the woman spying on him, because regardless of what Naruto may have people believing, bright colors are the worst thing to wear on stealth missions. Ezomil sends a letter of his own, but to repay Alois for spying on him, he shows up while she's reading it to let her know that no matter what happens, they'll deal with whatever comes their way. Clearly the two of them will get married, and of course they offer to send you an invitation that you'll probably never receive. Because of all she's done to understand this holiday and bring love and joy to the people on this Valentine's Day, Puckty's palm changes to the shape of a heart, and she gets a whole new respect for the power of the Post-Muggles and their ability to shape the lives of the people by what they deliver. I'm not sure she entirely gets the point, but she's definitely better than she was at the beginning. In any case, this concludes the story of this year's Valentine's Day. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, subscribe, join the Discord, and if you really want to show your support, sign up to become a member of the channel. Until next time, guys. Later.